First of all, let me thank both the chairman and the vice chairman for acknowledging the fact that we have a lot of competing committees taking place all the time. This is very important to me, though, and I enjoyed all four of the statements. I thought they were great statements that were made. Ms. Korsnick, I've long supported nuclear energy and ensuring spent fuel is safely and properly stored in a permanent repository. We've been talking about this issue for so long now. I keep thinking we're getting closer, and I think we are. While Senator Duckworth's bill is a good faith effort to help her state, I'm concerned that it basically kind of pays the communities to tolerate long-term problems, and no locality should have stranded nuclear waste, but this is a result of the fact that we've been trying, we've had opposition over the years to permanently dispose of the sites, and there's been resistance such as there was for such a long period of time over Yucca Mountain. So the taxpayers nationwide, including Oklahomans, already paid the liability costs of storing spent fuel where it is after the government failed to build a permanent repository. So instead of sending more Oklahoma's taxpayer dollars to localities with spent fuel, we should work together to secure a permanent solution. Ms. Norwich, I know I'm not saying that right. Let me practice one more time. Mrs. Norsik, would you agree that Congress should return its focus to securing a permanent repository for the spent fuels? And what ideas do you have along that line?
Thank you very much, Senator Inhofe. And yes, we very much support a long-term durable solution for nuclear storage. I guess if I could just perhaps step back for a moment to say, you know, we should be very proud of the American nuclear industry for all that it has brought. We are the strongest operating fleet in the world, and we bring a lot of American innovation. And that American innovation can be used to help solve this long-term storage issue. We simply need to put our mind to it. When we began the nuclear industry 50 years ago, of course, things were put in place to manage used fuel, and we have done that part of it. Money has been collected, over $40 billion today in the Nuclear Waste Fund. And we have promised to operate safely and to store this fuel in a safe manner until the government kept up its end of the bargain to pick up this fuel. The government has not picked up that end of the bargain, and I think it's high time that we focus on that. I applaud the DOE for recently putting out an RFI on a consent-based siting process for interim storage. I think that's a good step. We're happy to work together to make inroads. But as a nation, we need a long-term storage repository. If you look across the world, it was mentioned earlier, Sweden is doing this, France is doing this, Finland is doing this, Switzerland is doing this. Okay. So we're behind.
All right, we're behind, and I'm getting a little behind also. So let me mention Mr. Harrell. Several people in your opening statements talked about NEMA and the successes that we've had, and we have had successes. And its core mission is conducting inspections and licensing reviews, yet only 21% of its budget is allocated for that purpose, while corporate support is over 30%. Mr. Harrell, do you agree that the NRC needs to streamline its corporate support budget so it does not exceed that of its inspection and licensing review? This is kind of an interesting thing because you're dealing with government here, and some of this comes out quite accidentally. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question, Senator Inhofe, and thank you for your strong support for nuclear, and particularly your work at the Armed Services Committee on microreactors and the NDAA. I agree. I think that the resources need to be focused on key areas in modernization. No doubt we need to inject new talent into the NRC. As I mentioned in my testimony, 10 new reactor designs could be coming in the next 3 years. We need to be able to focus and bring the NRC to the 21st century and get them focused on these new technologies. And so making sure that resources that are coming in, whether it's corporate support or off-fee resources, whatever it may be, need to be zeroed in on the key licensing areas to accelerate the licensing and ultimate deployment of those advanced reactors.
Well, and I appreciate that very much, and let me also compliment you on the statement. It needs to be made all the time, and that is, if we don't do it, China and Russia are going to do it. All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and
Thanks, Senator, and thanks for your leadership all these years on trying to get us to a place where we have safe, clean nuclear energy and do it in ways that are smart.
I appreciate that. And, you know, I think each member of this committee will say this is probably the least partisan of the committees dealing with such serious subjects. So we've been, I think, all been doing well, and you folks included, of course.
Well, thanks for saying that.